and welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another episode of TEW 2020 WWE. Looking off as always with another installment of Monday Night Raw. And we start with Daniel Bryan coming out to the ring. He's in a good mood, obviously, after becoming number one contender to the WWE title last week, and he asks for Edge to come out, and Edge obliges, and the two legends stand across from each other face to face. And Daniel Bryan says, Edge, obviously, I have a lot of respect for you. And I'm sure it's mutual. But I need you to know that at Battleground, I will give everything I've got, everything I am, to become WWE Champion again. And Edge kind of smiles and says, Daniel, I'd expect nothing less. And I'd want nothing less. Two men start to approach each other for an 84, it'll be into each other's faces, you know, when out comes Seth Rollins, the Money Messiah. No. He says that Daniel Bryan doesn't deserve to be in the WWE title match. He says Seth Rollins is the only person who deserves to be fighting Edge for the WWE title. The only person who deserves to be WWE Champion. He is the face of WWE, and people need to start showing some respect. He says if it wasn't for AJ Styles, he'd be the number one contender right now. He'd be facing off with Edge. And he says if Daniel was a real man, was a real superstar, then he'd face him tonight with that number one contendership on the line. And Daniel Bryan happily obliges for the 82, setting up the main event. Daniel Bryan versus Seth Rollins with the number one contendership to the WWE title on the line. And then for our first match of the evening, the Undisputed Era, who debuted last week, Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly, taking on the Viking Raiders. And it's the Undisputed Era who get the win. Kyle O'Reilly pinning Ivar for the 57-63 from Kyle, 56 from Bobby. Very good 40-38 for Ivar and Eric. Undisputed Era making their Raw debut, just giving a little preview of what they've got, what they're about, you know. Obviously attacked the Raw Tag Champions Breezango last week, so the assumption is that they want those Raw Tag titles, and they're just showing that they are obviously one of the best teams in the division and want the titles to prove that on their debut. Happy with that. Then we go backstage, McIntyre walking around, still looking for Bray Wyatt, still very angry. Then he stops. The camera pans out and you see he stopped at Braun Strowman. Braun's like, what do you want, Drew? And Drew says, I know you're friends with him, I know you know where he is. And I know maybe he doesn't care about his brother, but I know he cares about you, Braun. And that's why I have to do this. And Drew starts attacking Braun. Braun fighting back, having to be separated for the 71. Drew and Braun will take each other on later tonight. And then we go back to the ring for a segment of Miz TV. The Miz in the ring welcomes his guest, United States Champion Chad Gable. He congratulates Chad on winning the US title at Mania and defending on his open challenges. So noble, so good. And Miz says, obviously, you know, as a former United States champion himself, he understands what it takes to hold that belt, to hold any belt in WWE, because obviously Miz, former WWE champion, he says, Chad, I respect what you're doing with that title, but let's face it, you haven't had any real competition, have you? I mean, who have you fought? I mean, Murphy? Cesaro? What have they ever done? Let's face it, Chad, that you go in the ring with someone of a higher quality of talent, such as, say, a former WWE champion, then it'll be a very different story. For an 85, Chad kind of laughing it off, saying if Miz wants to step up, he is gladly welcome to. And the Miz says, nah, instead tonight, I've got a different opponent in mind, and I'm going to show you how much better at this I am. I'll show you some next match, Miz versus Murphy. The superstar, of course, Chad Gable beat last week for an 85. And then the match itself gets 60, Miz pinning Murphy after the skull crushing finale. 65 from Miz, 40 from Murphy, 60 for the match. Very happy with that. And the Miz gloating at Chad afterwards. The Miz looking like he set his sights on Chad Gable's US title. And we go backstage, Charlie Caruso interviewing Seth Rollins. Seth saying about how later tonight he's going to beat Daniel. He's going to take his rightful spot as the number one contender to the WWE title. And then the Battleground, he's going to beat Edge. He's going to take that title and he's going to hold it like a true face of the company will. Because that is what Seth Rollins is. He's the face of Monday Night Raw. He's the face of WWE. And he's coming for the WWE title. That will further show his point for an 81. Very good. Then next up, we got Drew Gulak versus Timothy Thatcher. And Drew Gulak getting a surprise win after the interference from Rob Van Dam running in, attacking Thatcher, letting Drew Gulak pick up a victory against the Hardcore Champion for the 49. Thatcher with the 51, Gulak with the 33. And obviously RVD has not heeded the warning of Timothy Thatcher from last week. Still got his sights set on the Hardcore Champion. And then after the match, RVD continues going after Timothy Thatcher. Referees, road agent having to come out and separate them. Timothy Thatcher, a bit bloodied but very angry, still wants RVD. Looks like this feud will continue for a 70. And then next up, Kairi Sane versus Sasha Banks. Obviously last week Banks and Bayley made their intentions clear of going after the women's tag team titles again, and now one half of the women's tag champions, Kairi Sane, taking on Sasha Banks for a 65, getting the win with the Banks statement. 72 from Sasha, 54 from Kairi. Really good match from the women here, as Banks and Bayley get a bit of momentum going here with victory over one half of the women's tag champions. And then after another installment of the Virtuo show, Deonna Purrazzo, Chelsea Green and Lana. Chelsea Green coming out as somewhat comically injured, I would say. She's got like a cast on, a sling on, you know, very overdramatic, using crutches. Deonna and Lana helping her get into the ring. And then Deonna going off on Asuka, saying that last week she could have killed Chelsea Green. Chelsea Green severely injured by Asuka's actions. Saying that she spoke to management and they wanted to fire Asuka. They wanted her out, but Deonna said, no. Just suspend her. And then at Battleground, I will take care of her personally, with the Women's World title on the line, and they happily accepted. So I will see you at Battleground, Asuka. But for now, I've got a match next up, and from your home, from wherever you are, you can watch and learn a thing or two for a 52, and then the match itself, Deonna Purrazzo versus Mercedes Martinez. 44, Deonna Purrazzo winning with the Fujiwara armbar. 48 from Deonna, very good. 25 from Mercedes. Happy with that. Deonna sending a message. Deonna Purrazzo, Chelsea Green and Lana taking the time to gloat as Deonna Purrazzo builds some momentum going into Battleground with a 54. And then next up, as announced earlier, Braun Strowman versus Drew McIntyre 1-on-1 for a 66. Drew sadly off his game, but Drew gets the win with the Claymore kick. 70 from Drew, 66 for the segment, 55 for Braun. Happy with that. And then Drew afterwards, just like last week, saying he wants the Bray, he wants the Fiend, he wants either of them to come out here and answer to him for their actions. What they did to him leading into Backlash, what they did to Sheamus. He wants to know where his friend is, and he's not happy for a 76. We'll go backstage before the main event. Daniel Bryan being interviewed by Charlie Caruso, talking about how he'll happily take on Seth here because he believes in himself. He says all Seth's saying about being the face of Raw, being the face of the company, is just delusions from Seth, because Daniel says, I know Seth Rollins. We've wrestled before, God knows how many times. Instead of being all talk like Seth, I'm going to go out there and do what I do best, and that's let my skills, let my abilities, let my wrestling do the talking for the 82. And then the main event, Daniel Bryan versus Seth Rollins, #1 contendership on the line, and Daniel Bryan getting the win by pinfall after the running knee for a 78. 76 from Daniel, 69 from Seth. Didn't seem to click, sadly. Probably brought the segment down, but oh well, I'm happy enough with that main event, as Daniel Bryan remains number one contender to Edge's WWE title. The show overall with the 79 increased to popularly in 21 regions. I'm happy with that. Another really good episode of Raw. We got 79 last week as well, so keeping that little streak going. And that is it for Raw. Moving on now to another episode of NXT. And NXT starts here with Rey Mysterio being interviewed backstage, talking about Fantasma, talking about Andrade, talking about mainly his main event tonight against Humberto Carrillo for the Cruiserweight title, when he's interrupted by Andrade and Zelina Vega. And they say, we came to wish you luck actually, because we want you to win tonight. We want you to beat Humberto, because we want you to keep that Cruiserweight title around your waist, because Andrade is the one who deserves to take it away from you. When there's a bit of commotion you hear going on, Rey Mysterio goes to check on it, the camera following Andrade, Zelina following, and it eventually find it is El Hijo del Fantasma out cold in the parking lot. Rey Mysterio checking on him, calling for a medic, or getting up and pushing Andrade away, saying it was you, wasn't it? You did this. And Andrade saying, not me. It wasn't me. And before Andrade and Zelina Vega walking off whilst Rey stays to check on Fantasma and wait for a medic for an 82. Get the show off to a strong start, got the crowd hot, that's what we like. And then the first match of the evening, Brian Kendrick versus Finn Balor. And Finn Balor gets the win with the 1916 for a 58. 64 from Finn, 36 from Kendrick. Just allowing Finn to build a bit of momentum after his Cruiserweight semi-final defeat to Rey Mysterio. And then we go backstage for an interview with Tegan Nox, talking about her match later tonight against Mickie James, saying that I've seen what some people are saying, thinking I might be rusty, thinking it's too soon. My first match back being for the NXT Women's title. But honestly, it's not soon enough for me. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to shut Mickie James up once and for all. I know how good she can be. I know how much of a legend she is, and I have some respect for her. But a lot of the respect I had disappeared with all the stunts she's been pulling whilst I've been away. And tonight is the opportunity I've been waiting for to shut her up once and for all for 56. And then next up, the Colons versus the Lucha House Party. And the Colons get the win, Prima pinning Gran Metalik after the powerbomb backstabber combo, 49 for the match. Lince Dorado carrying it with a 54. The Colons with 34 and 31, 38 for Gran Metalik. The Colons getting the win though, and building a bit of momentum after their appearance last week, taking out the Swords of Essex after their match with Gallus. And we'll go backstage. Cameron Grimes being interviewed by Sarah Schreiber. He says, I didn't want to do what I had to do last week with Keith Lee. They didn't want to attack like that, but I had to. People been questioning me, people been doubting me, and I had to show them, oh, Cameron Grimes still got it. And then Sarah asked him about his match against Dominik. Is he worried about it? He says, hell no, I'm not worried, because I know I'm a better wrestler than Dominik Dijakovic. And even if somehow he tries to cheat his way past me, I got a little backup plan up my boot, Sarah. For a 52. Cameron Grimes ready for his match with Dijakovic later. Before next up, Damien Priest versus Isaiah Swerve Scott. Both superstars getting wins last week. Which one will keep their momentum going? And it's Damien Priest, 52 for him, 42 for Swerve, 52 for the segment. Didn't seem to click, sadly, but oh well, Damien Priest getting the win just over 10 minutes with the South of Heaven, and continuing his impressive re-debut here on the black and gold brand. Before we go backstage to the Velveteen Dream being interviewed, he's got the sunglasses on, he's kind of holding his head. He's saying, Sarah, I was so embarrassed watching back my actions last week, that wasn't me, obviously, I was dealing with a lot after the defeat to Alistair, and I feel terrible, I want to apologize personally to Scarlett. I didn't mean to hit her, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to find Alistair, and I'm going to apologize to him face to face for 70. And then next up, as announced, Tegan Nox versus Mickie James in the NXT Women's Championship. Who will come out of this the one true NXT Women's Champion? And Tegan Nox, with the advantage for most of the match, looks like she's going to win. Mickie James rolling out the ring. Tegan Nox chasing after out the ring, approaches her near the announcer table when Mickie James turns around and smashes Tegan Nox right in the face with the NXT Women's title. Tegan Nox going down, getting the win by disqualification, and Mickie James does not look happy, off her game of it. 44 for Tegan, 38 for Mickie, 49 for the match. And then afterwards, Mickie James continues to attack Tegan Knox, slamming her into the rim post, into the barricade, eventually having to be separated by referees and road agents as Mickie James goes up the ramp shouting about how she is the one true NXT Women's Champion. There's not a damn thing Tegan Knox can do about it for 51. And then we have another interview. The Colognes being interviewed this time, talking about how earlier tonight they proved how good they are in the ring. And last week they showed the issue, one of the many issues with the Swords of Essex, that they're not smart enough, that they don't see things coming. After years in the business, the Colognes, they have this awareness, this sixth sense for things. And if they were in the Swords of Essex's shoes, they would have seen it coming. But no, the Swords of Essex are the champions, but not for long, because the Colognes are coming for those belts, and they're going to get them like they have so many tag team titles in the past, for a 30 from the Colognes. And then we go to Velveteen Dream, and he knocks on Aleister Black's door. Aleister Black answers, and he comes to the door, and the Velveteen Dream starts to apologise, saying how terrible he felt, and Aleister Black just cuts him off, and he says, "Velveteen, I have a lot of respect for you. I think of you as almost like a friend, and I know how hard it must be having lost against me, not being number one contender to the NXT title. But I need you to understand that if you get in my way again, if you involve yourself in my business again, then you won't just have Karrion Kross to worry about. You'll have me." Before slamming the door in his face for an 83. And then we go back to the ring for Cameron Grimes versus Dominik Dijakovic. Dominik Dijakovic building up a bit of momentum. Cameron Grimes looking a little injured, the ref checking on him, when in runs Andrew Everett, who's Cameron Grimes' former tag team partner on the independent scene. And out of nowhere, low blows Dominik Dijakovic. The ref obviously distracted before Everett rolls out the ring hiding as Cameron Grimes magically recovers before hitting a cave-in on the now downed Dominik Dijakovic for the win for a 48. 52 for Grimes, 31 for Dijakovic, who was sadly off his game. But Grimes and Dijakovic had pretty good chemistry, so that's good. And Everett's debuted his new gimmick for initial rating are very good. So that is all good, I would say. I'm happy with that. And then after the match, Grimes and Everett attack Dijakovic more when Keith Lee's music hit and the North American champion rushes out to the ring. Everett and Grimes sliding away, jumping into the crowd and escaping before Keith Lee can get to him. Keith Lee instead staying in the ring to check on his friend Dijakovic for 55. Dijakovic and Everett did poorly, lost out there, but Keith Lee was fantastic and thankfully can carry things like this a bit. And then we have a promo video by Kross and Scarlett. Karrion Kross saying, "Mr. Black, I had a lot of respect for you. I think we're very similar creatures, you and me. We both belong to the darkness, it's what we've always known. And we both enjoy inflicting pain on those who cross us. But so much of the respect I had for you died last week when I saw who you associate yourself with. For Velveteen, a message. Next week, I'm coming for you, and I will make you pay for what you did to Scarlett. What's Mr. Black? I need you to know that at No Mercy, that is exactly what I will have for you. No mercy in my actions. No mercy in the consequences for your actions. I will simply have no mercy for you, and I will break you piece by piece. For 71, Karrion Kross with a very clear message for both the Velveteen Dream and Aleister Black. And then finally, the main event, Rey Mysterio vs Humberto Carrillo for the Cruiserweight title. And Rey Mysterio on top when Andrade's music hits and Andrade and Zelina Vega come out, Andrade in a suit. They slowly start to walk down the ramp and approach the ring. Rey Mysterio by the ropes that face the stage as Andrade gets towards the bottom of the stage and slowly starts taking his suit off like he's going to get in the ring. Rey telling him to come into the ring and fight him. When out of nowhere, Humberto Carrillo with a deliberate low blow to Rey Mysterio taking him down, the ref calling the disqualification, Rey Mysterio winning by DQ, as Humberto Carrillo begins attacking Rey Mysterio, Andrade sliding in and joining in, hitting his finisher. Humberto Carrillo goes up to the top rope and hits a moonsault on Rey. Zelina Vega climbing into the ring with the Cruiserweight title and handing it to Andrade, who poses with the belt over the fallen champion. Andrade clearly aligning himself with Carrillo here. Carrillo with the heel turn on Rey Mysterio, as Andrade comes out on top here to end the show for a 74 for the segment. Rey and Zelina looking great, and the show itself a 72. A little disappointing, lost its popularity in 21 regions, but I am pretty overall happy with it. Just moving the storylines along a bit more, and despite the overall rating being down a little bit from the 74 I think last week, I'm happy with it. I'm fine with it. But that is it for NXT. Now moving on to end the week, we have Smackdown. And to end the week with Smackdown here underway, Bobby Lashley and MVP making their way to the ring, and MVP kind of standing off to the side, whilst Bobby Lashley takes the mic, takes control, and he says that at Backlash last week, those were messages for Big E, for the New Day. While they were so worried about the Undisputed Era, about the Bloodline, what they should have been worried about this whole time was the MVPs, was Bobby Lashley. But it's too late now. Because even if he wanted to, Big E, there's not enough time in the world to prepare him for the fight he will have with Bobby Lashley. Because no matter how much Big E runs, no matter how much he hides, Bobby Lashley is coming to take his Universal title. For an 88 brilliant start to the show from Lashley and MVP here, putting Big E and the rest of the New Day on notice. And then we go backstage here for an interview with Matt Hardy. Matt Hardy a bit banged up from the match with DIY last week, and he says that Jeff, he's been checked by the medics, by the doctors, he's resting, he's recovering, and that's why tonight Matt is going to do what brothers should do, and he's going to have his brother's back. He's going to charge headfirst into the danger, headfirst into the problem, and he says he's going to take out the man who hurt his brother Jeff. He's going right for Roman Reigns, and he's going to show Roman Reigns why he should never have messed with the Hardy Boys. For 68, Matt preparing for his match later tonight with the Tribal Chief Roman Reigns. And then next up, the SmackDown Tag Team Championship number one contenders match, a fatal four-way tag team match between Rich Swann and Mark Quinn, the Bloodline, the Dirty Dogs, and the MVPs. And it's the MVPs coming out on top. The Dirty Dogs and Mark Quinn and Rich Swann put here as the Party Express, kind of taking each other out, distracting each other after their feud a matter of weeks ago, leaving the MVPs and the Usos to just kind of go at it in what would probably be a very good confrontation before Cedric Alexander pinned Jimmy Uso after the kick to kill, a 67 for the match rating wise. Rude and Ziggler with the 66 and 68, 66 for Jay, 59 for Cedric, 64 for Jimmy, 59 for Swan, 50 for Ziggler, and 50 for Ricochet, 42 for Gwen. All pretty good, I'm pretty happy, all quite high, minus Mark Quinn and Ricochet a little low. That's just popularity, I assume, because in-ring stats are pretty high. But main focus, the MVPs are the number one contenders to the SmackDown Tag Team titles. And then speaking of the feud between the Dirty Dogs and Mark Quinn and Rich Swann, we go backstage to James Storm looking for Montez Ford. He's asking people, he's storming around, he's shouting, "Montez, where the hell are you, you son of a bitch?" He walks into a room and it's pretty quiet. He goes in a little bit and then the door shuts behind him. He turns around and there is Montez Ford, and the two just start brawling it out. They brawl for a little bit before the door slams open. Road agents, referees, superstars all storming in to drag the two rivals apart. For 57 here, obviously Montez Ford and James Storm nowhere near finished with each other yet. Before a tag team match next, Bianca Belair and Naomi obviously will be fighting for the $1 Million Championship at No Mercy. But tonight, they're going to have to team up, getting a chance to kind of give each other a front row seat to show what they can do against the Riot Squad here. And in the end, it is miscommunication as Bianca Belair accidentally hits Naomi, allowing Ruby Riot to hit the Riot Kick and get the win for the Riot Squad. Obviously, the Riot Squad, an actual tag team, Belair and Naomi not having that tag team chemistry, that tag team experience. A 49 for the segment, 53 for Naomi, 50 for Bianca, the two best in the match, which is a good sign, I would say, heading into their one-on-one match at No Mercy. Riot Squad with 44s each, happy with that. I'm happy with that. And then afterwards, cut to commercial, we come back, and out comes the Women's Universal Champion, Rhea Ripley, for a 73. And Ripley starts off talking, about last week Peyton Royce becoming #1 contender to her championship, saying that at No Mercy, she can't wait to get in the ring with Peyton Royce and get her first official defense of the Women's Universal title. Out comes Toni Storm, and Toni Storm not happy. She's shouting at Rhea. I thought, you know what? I know we've had our problems, but I thought we had some respect. I thought we had even maybe some friendship here. But then last week, you just sitting at ringside, sitting idly by, whilst Billie Kay gets involved and screws me out of the #1 contendership. And Rhea kind of rolling her eyes, kind of saying, Toni, you not being good enough to handle yourself is not my problem. That's yours. And Toni Storm not looking happy. Toni saying, oh, I know what this is. It's because you can beat Peyton, but you can't beat me. Just like you couldn't beat me in NXT UK. Just like in NXT UK, that if I come for your title, I'm taking it off you. Rhea looking quite annoyed now, saying that, Toni, if you want to go right now, I'll happily take you. And Toni accepting. So next up, Rhea Ripley, Toni Storm for the 55. So next up, Rhea Ripley versus Toni Storm. But first, out come the Iconics 38. Billie Kay was terrible with no script to follow. Her dialogue was a mess. I don't believe that. If you've seen Billie Kay, you know this is not true. But still, the Iconics come out and they go to ringside. They say, no, you two have fun. And they just go to by ringside, sit with the commentators before the match. Ripley versus Storm. And Rhea Ripley getting the win with the Riptide on Toni Storm. Ripley with the 55, 41 for Storm, 49 for the segment. And I am very happy with that from the two women here. Long-time rivals in NXT UK, even a bit long-time rivals in NXT UK, and now having their first match here on Smackdown, and Ripley getting the win. Before, after the match, Ripley is attacked from behind by Peyton Royce and Billie Kay, the Iconics, who take Rhea Ripley out before doing their little Iconics pose above her for the 59. Ripley dealing with Storm tonight, but still clearly the Iconics to deal with at No Mercy. And then we go backstage to Roman Reigns being interviewed, and he doesn't look happy. He says, I told you what I was going to do last week, and I did it. One of our main issues was Jeff Hardy. He's obviously a distraction for the rest of the bloodline. I thought maybe attacking him last week would help. But obviously not, seeing as Jimmy J lost earlier tonight, didn't become contenders, putting shame upon the bloodline as usual. You know what, that's okay. Maybe I just need to do more. And that's exactly what I'm going to do starting tonight. Next up, in my match against Matt Hardy, I'm going to take him out. I'm going to take that old man out to the woods and finish him off once and for all. And then when Jeff finally fully recovers, finally weans himself off those painkillers he must be taking to deal with the agony I put him through, and he comes back, I'll take care of him as well. And then maybe the bloodline can finally move on. For an 83, for, as Roman mentioned, next up, Roman Reigns versus Matt Hardy. For an 81, what a match. Roman Reigns beating Matt Hardy after hitting a spear. Hardy with the 50, Roman Reigns with the 86. That's done amazingly to get that 81. And Roman Reigns doing as he said he would. He takes out Matt Hardy after the match, just beating Matt down even more, taking him out of the ring, throwing him through the barricade so hard that he breaks it, lands into the crowd. Roman Reigns kind of going over to him and kneeling down to him, saying that, go see your brother Jeff in the hospital. Let him know I'm here and I'm going to be waiting for him. For 76, Roman Reigns once again sending another clear message. Before we go backstage to Rhea Ripley being interviewed by Kayla Braxton. And she, she's kind of holding her head after the sneak attack from behind. And she says that Peyton, Billy, if they want to fight, I'll give them a fight. But attacking me from behind, that's not the way to go. So that's why I've spoken to Paige. And next week, I have a match with Billy Kay, 1-on-1. I'll see her there. And I'll show her what brutality means. For 62, Ripley doing good here. Before Apollo Crews comes out, the main event, Apollo Crews versus Thaddeus Bullard for the Intercontinental title, followed by Thaddeus Bullard and Paul Heyman making their way to the ring very slowly. Bullard holding his IC title, Paul Heyman walking down mic in hand, talking about how Apollo Crews, he's waited so long for this, hasn't he? His opportunity, his spot in the main event against the biggest star in WWE, Thaddeus Bullard. And they want Apollo to savour it. They want him to savour the feeling of the crowds cheering, calling his name. They want him to appreciate every second of it, because this is it for Apollo. Because once Bullard takes him out here, once Bullard destroys him here and shows everybody that Apollo Crews doesn't have what it takes to hang with the big dogs, after that, Apollo will never be near the main event ever again. For 74, before the match itself, it's brutal, it's back and forth, both men look like they could do it, end up rolling out the wing, rolling up the ramp, the ref counting them. When they get to the top of the ramp, they get to the entrance way, and they're brawling, Thaddeus Bullard standing by it, Apollo Crews a bit away, and Bullard saying, yeah, that's it, you ain't got it, have you? Before Apollo Crews gets very angry, very worked up, charges at Bullard and kind of spears him through the little LED screens they have there, going right through it. Bullard and Crews nowhere to be seen as the ref hits 10, counts them both out, a double count out here. Bullard retaining title by count out, Apollo Crews completely taking him out, and then after the match for 73, the referee and some road agents going to that LED screen, checking on Bullard and Crews, calling for some medics as they get checked out after a brutal encounter. I don't think this is anywhere near done between these two superstars. But now SmackDown is done, and it gets a 74. Good SmackDown, I think. Reigns and Matt Hardy absolutely killing it with that 81. Ripley with a workhorse performance tonight. Held in quite a few segments, doing quite well, I would say, throughout. But a good week, I'd say. The ratings have been 79, 74, and NXT got like a 70 to 74, I think. So, yeah, I'm happy with that. Another good week. But that is all for this week. Next week, got a few big matches planned, of course, on Raw, the United States title, number one contenders, 10-man battle royale on NXT, Karrion Kross versus the Velveteen Dream, and on SmackDown, as mentioned, Rhea Ripley versus Billy Kay, among others, of course, plenty planned. But that is it for this week. Please like and subscribe for more, and thank you for watching.